don't know how this is going to go because obviously you usually do it 1-to-1. So if you just talk, and then
you're gonna have like 2 hours of content. I hope you know that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Taskmaster starts in a fucking hour.
Yeah, that's one of my concerns.
Well, if it's a joint concern, then that's kind of good. At least we're all in the same situation. Anyway, let's fucking get on with this. So,
Cool.
Before I start an introduction, I just thought I'd make it a bit clear that yes, Tom Gulliver currently has been on 100% of Extra Cheese, Extra Beans special. This is his 3rd appearance. I'm not being funded by him. This isn't a vehicle for his projects. It's just by chance that he's had quite a lot of shit out. And also, I desperately need content. Therefore, I'm glad to have him back on. But the best thing about this one is it's not just him back on. It's all of fucking Kraken. I mean, to put a bit of a story behind this, I got a message from Gully saying, do you want to do another interview with all of Kraken? And without hesitation, I fucking said yes. Probably should have thought it through a little bit, but we're fucking here now. Who gives a fuck? I need to stop swearing. Right, anyway, so I don't even know what my introduction is. It doesn't make sense. For fuck's sake.
You okay?
I've been doing dissertation.
If you have to censor this episode, the whole intro so far is just going to be.
But yeah, here we are. Right, I'll do the little introduction thing. I'll keep that for the fans that I've just said. For later. But fucking Extra Cheese, Extra Beans. Here we are. We had Tom Gulliver last time. This time we've got him again. However, it's a major upgrade. No offense, Mr. Gully, but 4 people is better than 1. All I'm going to say, and it's Kraken, one of my favourite York bands who are no longer in York, but still releasing tunes, big tunes, massive tunes, and not just releasing any old tunes. We've got a fucking album on the way, which I am not only excited for, I've already had a little sneak peek at it, and I've been told that I'm not allowed to reveal any of the track listings because I'm sort of
Now you can do whatever you want.
I did get a passive message from, I can't remember who it was, through you, Gully, saying if he leaks it, he's dead.
Oh yeah.
But it's alright though, because I don't have enough friends who care about my life to leak it to, so it's a win-win for you.
You can leak it to us.
Yeah, I haven't heard any of it, so.
So yeah, here we are, Kraken, all the boys. If you can introduce yourselves individually, what role you play in the band, any order will suffice.
Who's gonna start?
Yeah.
You start, Gully.
You start.
Good stuff.
Hello, I'm Tom Gulliver. I am a rhythm guitarist and I produce.
I'm Fred. I play drums, I sing, I write, and I write the songs with Gully. And that's it. That's the band. We just invited Joe and Tom because we're friends.
I'm Joe Buttery. I play lead guitar. Not really. I'm Tom Hoover. I play bass guitar, and sometimes I'll scream or some noises into a microphone. Sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm Joe, and I play lead guitar, and I'm an ex-backing singer.
Ex-backing singer.
Classic.
Yeah.
What's this?
Yeah, he used to sing on when we first met. Joe and I met because he lived in my university house, and we would jam together. And that's sort of where Kraken came from. It's also where the name came from as well. But I imagine you'll want to get to that later. But we wrote a song and he sang on it, and he'd never really done any singing before, and I hadn't either. So when it was just sort of the 2 of us and Tom Hoover, Joe used to do a little bit of backing here and there. But once we realised that Gully could sing when he joined the band, Joe made the executive decision to sack himself from being the backing singer.
Was it his decision though?
It was, yeah, it was.
Oh, was it? Okay. The thing is, you say that about the band name and how the band formed, but obviously know a little bit because of a certain Gully leaking the details in earlier interviews. So selfish. But regardless, I will be asking it in a bit. My first question to you is when are you going to be playing in York again?
Oh man, I mean,
Tomorrow,
When it-
actually.
yeah. Right now I'm late. No, but like, when is there going to be live music again? I guess is the first question. Who knows? If next year there's the possibility of proper live music like it was when we were first playing there, then I think a gig could be organised for sure. I think we'd all be interested.
We haven't discussed anything, but like I imagine when things are safe, like we have a lot of like friends and like even fans like across the UK, because obviously we're in uni and everyone's kind of moved to different places. So hopefully we can kind of like do at least like one gig in the north and the south, kind of like bring people together.
I'd
But,
really like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully we'll say as soon as possible. And if people want us to gig in York, let us know and we'll come.
I'm saying it for my own selfish desire of I want to see is because I've said it to many different people that use one of the few bands who I never got to see and at the university I genuinely liked, mainly because it was heavy and just intense music, which is obviously my cup of tea. But I'd come support everything after midnight. I mean, I don't know whether I can make that decision, but
That's sick.
I'm the cheesy beans master. I decide what goes. So
King of CBT.
yeah, king of cock and ball torture. Brilliant. So the next question, as it's already alluded to, is where did the name come from?
Cock and ball torture. I imagine it comes from.
Oh man, that's a whole rabbit hole. Well, the name came from the Fulford Arms, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, is a gig venue in York, which is essentially a pub, really, but they've sort of hollowed it out and turned the main area into a dance floor and a gig venue. And Joe and I were there. I can't really remember who we were seeing. It could well have been that Magnificent Seven thing. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
They were like a ska punk band.
They were like 9 members, well, they had 7 members.
Yeah, they had like 1 million members, and then I didn't drink beer. I don't know if you did, but we were drinking rum, Kraken rum, and we were both hammered and thought it sounded like a great idea. We sort of stuck with it, and it became something which was nice. But interestingly enough, Tom Hooper doesn't really like the name, which I didn't know that until not that long ago. I just sort of assumed that, like everybody else, he loved us and was obsessed with it.
Well, I haven't been that quiet about it, to be honest. But
I just didn't realise.
The thing is, I joined after the name was decided, and I am appreciative because everyone knows that the hardest thing about starting a band is thinking of a name. And I was just like, do you know what? I wouldn't have picked it, but whatever. I'm in it now.
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't in the process of choosing the name either. Even though like all like the bands that I've probably been in have like mythical creatures in their name. I don't know why that's a thing. But
Yeah.
like I was
Basilisk, Kraken, Tom Gulliver, they're all...
What's the mythology behind?
Yeah.
What's the mythology behind Tom Gulliver? Dude,
What was that question?
What was that? The mythology. What is the mythology behind Tom Gulliver's name?
He has many arms which extend to enormous lengths, and he can do everything with them.
And massive hand. as
And
well.
I have huge hands.
Yeah, just put your hand up to the camera just so people haven't. I mean, look at that there. He's not even moving it near to the camera. It just
No,
looks
it's
enormous.
actually
Look
by
how
my
small-
head.
Look how small mine is as well.
Yeah, I know. Look at that.
It's tiny.
Tiny compared. I've got one very small hand and one very big hand.
I haven't got any hands.
Yeah, Joe's handless.
Oh fucking hell!
This is going to be a nightmare to edit.
Oh, honestly, I make the nightmare myself anyway. I've asked Tom Gulliver about his solo stuff, and I've asked other people who have released albums or EPs. So I thought I'd ask you, why have you chosen to release an album at this time?
Well, we were always recording, like, basically when I entered, I wanted to get everything down, like, recorded ASAP, because not only was it my course, but like I knew that people wanted their shit recorded and sounding sick. That's so cool. Like recording your stuff and having it like sound professional, like it makes you like really proud. You can easily share it with your friends and be like, hey, like how good we sound, and like that's brilliant. And so we just kept doing it, and then we had enough songs to make an album. We were like the band's not gonna be around forever, so let's make a whole project and release it eventually, which it took like 2 years to make because graduation happened and then COVID happened, and then it was just a bit of a shit show.
Well, because it's taken 2 years, you know, we've been able to like, it's kind of become like, this might sound really dumb, but like an anthology almost of just stuff that we've made throughout the years. Like it's kind of become like a full circle of stuff that we've been able to make and stuff like that.
Yeah, it has. I think the extended amount of time, I think has done us a lot of good actually, because we've made some changes and shuffled things around a little bit. But I think because unless you already have sort of an established fan base and you know it's going to sell, not many people actually do albums at the moment, do they? They really just do singles until there's enough of a following to make sure that you're going to sell a good album. But we thought it's the end of us being together regularly, you know, possibly forever or for a while. We've got all these songs and we think they're really good, so we may as well record them and make them sound as good as possible, because once you've done it all, nobody can take it off you. You know, you've produced something really impressive and it sounds great and it's always going to be there. You know, whereas if they're all sort of demos and they're sort of here and there, you don't really know what to do with them. But if they're all finished and done, you've got something to look back at as well.
I think we wanted to avoid like fading away and kind of just like going into nothing. So we wanted to really like go out with if this is us going out, it being a bang, and if it's not, then we have stuff to carry on from this.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to get in like the patterns of like recording singles and just releasing them like non-stop. Like it's a bit, that's what I was worried about doing, is just like releasing singles like forever and just like becoming like meaningless. Like there'd be no excitement over our songs if we did that.
From that, you've mentioned about getting everything recorded and stuff. Obviously, I know that you are, I believe, in different parts of the country, so to speak. So I was wondering, how did the recording processes mainly go, and then on top of that, production, because that's obviously part of the sort of thing.
We did quite a lot of it when we were at uni. Where, I mean, I did a lot of my drums when I was in like the deepest part of my dissertation, and that was that was a lot of work, because you know there was a lot going, because I was chair of bandsoc at the time as well. So we had their events, we had the dissertation, and the drum recording stuff as well. And then I think, you know, Joe did most of his when he was at uni, Gully did some of his, and Spoopy did some of his as well. But then about maybe 9 or 10 months later, I came back up to York and finished off. Did I just do vocals then, or did I just do vocals?
Yeah, you did vocals, and I think that was it. Because we had a few parts we need to re-record some bits and like update some bits.
Yeah.
From what I remember of seeing that is that you did some vocals and you and Gully both got very drunk.
We did. In the day, it was great.
Yeah. We played.
I've been working for like, I don't know, between about 6 months or 7 months in a pub. So I'd sort of gotten used to the working 5 days a week, 6 days a week routine. So to then record vocals in the morning and get hammered in the day was absolutely great, you know.
With the album, obviously releasing it, doing all the process and stuff, and you briefly mentioned it, but do you think bands, or artists should I say, are maybe starting to move back to an album format? Because I've seen a lot of people who have released albums who might be on independents and might not be like a big act, if we say so to say. Obviously, I know that's quite subjective, but do you think people are starting to maybe move back to albums as such?
I guess it depends really, because there are some bands that we know, like Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown. They've just had an album out, and they're not like massive, but they're big enough so they've got like a fairly big following. And is it Mantra, Gully, that band who?
Yeah, there's Mantra who released an album, and
they've done a couple of albums already.
Oh really?
And and they're not that big, but I think if you've got enough of a following and you can release it through a label or you know, a production company who are going to make sure it sells well, it's not too much of a problem. But if you're still trying to get yourself known, it's a lot to send people, because people aren't going to listen to all of it, you know. Whereas if you send them an EP or singles, it's very easily digestible and people will get an idea of who you are straight away. But I hope albums continue to be a thing, because I mean, obviously this is the first one any of us have ever done, but it's a really rewarding experience, and it does take a lot of work, but it's worth it for sure.
I think it's good with albums.
That has always like consistently released like, you know, extended stuff has been like heavy rock and metal, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like there's other genres like, you know, more pop stuff or like indie that have like really gone down the whole like EP and singles route.
Yeah, I think
Consistently, like heavy rock and metal bands have like, for the most part anyway, like there has been EPs and stuff, like we've only ever released EPs before.
Yeah.
But like, you know, there's always been albums and stuff like that coming out, which is really cool.
there's a lot of like indie projects always just like pile up tons of EPs, and everyone just waits for an album. They just get like tons of EPs, and it's just like we're just waiting for something like big to happen, and it doesn't happen.
I think there's more of a chance to show who you are with an album, because you have to put a lot of thought into it. You have to write a lot of material, but you also have to organise it well. With an EP, you don't really have to do that. You just stick however many songs you put in on it, and that's sort of the end of it. Whereas with an album, you really have to think about the flow of it, and how it's all going to fit together.
No, I totally agree. And I think with indie bands, it's sort of, even when they do end up releasing an album, I would probably say the majority of the tracks have already been released, and there's maybe like 2, possibly 3 that are like new tracks, and they don't even get as much possible radio play. But no, I agree with the thing of metal and hard rock compared to indie. So talking about generally the album, were there any overarching themes other than hard thrash, motherfucking metal, rock in your face?
Well, I mean, like all the lyrics were done by Freddie, apart from the bonus track, which is co-written by Joe. And like I think I don't want to speak on behalf of the lyrics, but it's a lot of like it's not like rebellious. It's more like it's more like cathartic. I think it's cathartic for all of us, because not only is it like one of the heaviest projects that I've invested in, but there's so much like release of like energies and like themes which we all kind of agree on. And I absolutely love the fact that we're all sharing in this kind of joint idea, even though like the messages could be personal to the person who writes the lyrics. I think it's really important that you can relate to them. I think the album lyrics are entirely that, and I think that's why it speaks a lot to all of us, and also hopefully to a lot of people who listen to our music.
I'm pleased about that, because that was, I mean, I don't think about the lyrics in terms of what people are going to think about it. I just write them. But I'm pleased that, you know, they're not closed off, that you can interpret them and, you know, think about them in different ways. There wasn't really, maybe there was an overriding theme with the album with the lyrics. I tend to write lyrics a lot about like my own experiences of bullying and all that kind of stuff, and of feeling like you don't belong. And you know, there's quite a few songs that are like that, but they're not like doom and gloom songs. A lot of them, they're in two camps. They're either, you know, fuck you, I despise you, or fuck you and things are going to be really great. And they sort of fall. So the heavier ones tend to be on, you know, that side, and the happier ones are on that side. But I think there's energy in all of them, and I don't think we've ever been a negative band. I don't think any of our songs are sort of negative or sort of, they don't drag you down. And that's why our gigs were always fun as well, because those songs live are very sort of uplifting and energetic and exciting. And, you know, the gigs were, even if, you know, you don't get massive crowds to them, they were still full of people having a good time. Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good to hear the energy and the positivity. Was there ever anyone, obviously, again, it kind of answered it, but was there ever anyone who questioned the songs as just being very negative because of the style? Because I know a lot of bands kind of get that stick where it's like, oh, it's punk, whatever, but actually have a good message behind it. Did you ever get anything like that?
You know what? I always found that whenever people would come and see us, whether they were fans of heavy rock or whether they weren't, they, no matter what, they always had a good time. I think when you present yourself as like, you say, oh, I'm in a band, and you say, oh, what kind of band? You say, oh, like heavy rock. They think it's just going to be like this diatribe of just noise and like heavy mess. But when you come and when you're in the midst of it, and when you've had a couple of drinks, it is just fun. Like, that's the only thing that we want to do when we play and when we perform, when we write songs. We write songs because we want to have fun. We record them because we want to have fun. We play them because we want everyone else to have fun. It's never just like this, you know. I don't think we've ever had anyone specifically say that it's miserable, which is good.
Yeah, particularly at the gigs, like it would be like a party atmosphere.
Yeah.
It wasn't like four guys in all black, you know, crying in the corner in anger and then going out and just being furious on stage. It was more like, because we'd be more drunk than the crowd, and we would have a really good time. You know, we would never like, you know, we never sort of ruined the show by being drunk, but we were always having we were there to have a good time. It's the whole point.
Yeah.
People would always say things like, do you know what, I actually really enjoyed it, as if to say, well, I thought I was going to hate it, but I actually had quite a good time. It was actually a good thing to hear that people didn't, you know, some of my girlfriend's housemates, I point out that she's not a wool, she's just in the other room. She brought some of her housemates, and we had a band called Give In open for us, who were like a metalcore band, and the looks on their faces were like, we've made a terrible error. But then we had a decent crowd, and they really enjoyed it. They had a really good time, and it was just fun because we didn't take ourselves too seriously, but we took ourselves seriously enough to do a good job. They were always fun.
So I remember gigs like that really well, like especially when you have like strangers like come to your gigs. That's like the nicest feeling, because they go in like feeling like a nomad too, and it's just like, you know, it's nice when they have some kind of like positive reaction, because you have no association with them before. So when they come out of that and tell you how much they enjoyed it, it's one of the nicest experiences you can get.
Yeah, and there was a good. York wasn't known for like its heavy scene. It's usually kind of acousticy, folky sort of stuff, and then having like people that you never met before coming up to you after a gig and saying, "Hey, I really like your set. I love this song." Blah blah blah. It was like genuinely like, "Oh my god, wow, that's actually, you know." It was just really a really nice feeling to have.
Yeah, it was,
Strangers
because
there
wasn't really a scene that we fitted in with, because like you say, it was sort of folk on the one hand, and like Spit on Your Grave, Support Satan, death metal on the other hand.
Yeah. And
we didn't, you know, because Northern Extremity do a lot of gigs in York, and that's like black metal, and we just, you know, it would be like Ariana Grande turning up if we played one of those gigs. It just wouldn't be appropriate.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really, you know, an active scene for us there. But Ariana Grande in York would be great, wouldn't it?
No.
She played the Fulford Arms. Can you imagine?
I like the way you compare.
Just playing to some pissed up bloke and his dog. which we did do once, where there was a bloke with a dog in the pub, and we came in for sound check like 6 p.m. and the owner said to the guy, he should leave because it's going to be quite loud, and he was like, oh, it's fine. Anyway, we started playing, and the dog was like just went, and he was like dragged out on the floor by the dog. It was great.
You know, like in Scooby-Doo when they're running on there's a cloud of dust underneath the feet. That's what the dog was like. It was like, ah!
Yeah.
But it's, when you're talking about strangers coming over here and saying they liked your stuff or they weren't expecting you to like it, I genuinely think is the biggest rush you can actually get. Because even like when you play, obviously you get a rush, and when you're drunk you get even more of a rush, which is even better. But when you talk to someone afterwards, like in my last band, I remember this guy apparently like put his arm around the lead singer of my band and turned around and said, "You're the best fucking band in the world," like that. And like my mate, the front man, was like laughing, but he was just saying like it was just so nice, like for someone to just show like what is just basically unadulterated love. Like,
Yeah. That's a special thing, particularly like Gully says, when people when people at uni come and say, oh, that was great, you know, it's really nice, but I think some people feel like they have to do it or else you would be upset. But I don't really care. When people who you don't know come over and say that was really great, it's really nice to think that you've helped them enjoy their evening, you know. And I wouldn't ever want to feel like somebody came and paid and then didn't have a good time. I remember we did a bandsock event, and the old chair of bandsock from like the 1600s came over. I think he'd been chairing like the 80s, and he came to the Battle of the Bands and said, "You've organised a really great event," and that, you know, that was a nice feeling because he'd been there before. So yeah, I always liked that. I think the playing live is a bigger rush, to be honest, because of the fear and the self-loathing and all that. You know, it all sort of just the excitement of playing was always so great. Particularly like our last gig as well. Like we had a really good crowd, and that gig was something else, wasn't it? It was so much fun.
What was do you know how many people came, or was it less of a? There was lots of people there, more it was just good.
Well, Fulford Arms was basically full, so
okay.
However many people that is, I don't know. I've got no idea.
Yeah, it was kind of similar to the final of the Battle of the Bands, which you had.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Right. That is very, very.
And there were people with like shirts on and stuff, and that was particularly when, like, I mean, we didn't design the shirts, but we designed them with an artist. When you put a product together like that and sold it with your album or with your EP, and then people are wearing them to gigs, that's a pretty crazy feeling.
Yeah, no, it's fucking cool. Moving on to, I'll talk a little bit about the album tracks, or a couple of the little things that I picked up on. And a song that you have released, which is the lead single and the kind of little sneak peek of the album, is Drunk, which is, I mean, it's the lead single and probably one of my favourite tracks on it because it's a pretty fat motherfucking riff. So I was just wondering, in terms of that song, where did it start? Where did the idea come from, and how did the song get where it is?
We really like enjoyed talking about the creation of this track because it's like the easiest thing to talk about, because it comes around in such an easy way and such a predictable way, where it's just like hilarious. Because the entire idea of the song is me sending a voice memo to the guys when I was really fucking drunk out of my mind, and I was making riffs, and I came up with this da-na-na-now, da-na-na-na-na-na, and that's basically the entire song. So I sent this voice memo to the chat. I said like drunk, and then we just kept with the theme, and then Fred wrote some lyrics about drinking, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I wrote the lyrics after I did something that I wasn't particularly proud of whilst I was extremely drunk, and I wrote them during the hangover of the period where I was drunk, and it just seemed too good to be true, and then the title seemed to work. And then we added a few more bits to the song in practice. Joe wrote like the pre-chorus riff, and he did, yeah. And Gully wrote the chorus riff during practice, and it all just sort of fitted together really, really nicely. It was a really simple song to write. It was like 3 steps, whereas other ones,
it
like,
definitely must be the fastest song that we've written.
Yeah, it came full circle really quickly, whereas other ones, you know, took quite a while to put together because some of them are trickier than others. But that one, it just came together so nicely.
It's actually my favourite song on the album for that reason, because like at the time, personally, like I was going through so many patterns of like just like creative drought. Like I just wasn't coming up with anything at all, and then it was just flowing so like brilliantly. And then it was like, oh, we really need this like, you know, little pre-chorus or something like that, and I was like, dude, and it just like came out.
It always feels really nice to kind of like get a good song out because you finally like found like the honey and gold of like your creative like prowess. Like it feels brilliant.
Yeah, it does. Very satisfying.
Yeah. So I was talking to there's a drummer from a band called Dead Wax, and he was talking about similarly with how he's had with Drunk, how it was such a smooth sort of song and the way it was written. They have a song out called Run It, and they said it was pretty much done within a sitting, but they have the other song they had out was Heavy Temptations, and that they said that was a song that took quite a few like weeks, maybe even months. Have you sort of had a similar sort of thing with the album as such? Or
Well,
really?
you all know who's about to get dragged through the fire. We have this song called Poison Me, which will be on the album. And when Gully and I came up with some riffs, and they were the basis of the song. But Gully and I sort of arranged it together, and it just got more and more complicated as we wrote it. Where we went down a rabbit hole of we could go here, we can go here, we can do this, we can do this, and it got more and more complex. And Joe decided to find a very simple part of the song and make it more complicated than it needed to be. And I think it took 9 years to finish.
How many takes do you think it was? Like
200.
I think I actually did count. It was like 28.
But it lasted like 90 minutes trying to get this.
Sometimes the simplest of things could just get you when you're
In the-
recording. They
yeah,
can just
in the
fuck you up
studio,
for
it-
some reason.
The studio is a different sort of.
On
It's a different thing altogether to playing live
we
or
had-
to playing in practice.
He had all three of us watching, and sometimes if you just get like something wrong once, you can be like, "Fuck," and there's people watching.
You get in your head about it.
And then doomsday.
It didn't happen straight away, and I was like, oh well,
It is also our fault because there's like 10 time signature changes and like 100 key changes, and it's just like, you'll do it easily, you'll be fine.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy bit of music, but it was agonising when it was being done.
The solo on that song is one of my favourites because of that. Because it was finally like once I got through the like 1.5 minute block in that song where it was just like I was overthinking it so much. It was so frustrating. I was like, oh my gosh, they're all gonna think I'm like just crap at playing guitar. I was like, right, time to just lay down the solo, and I probably did that in like 3 or 4 takes.
It's one of the most amazing pieces of guitar work I've heard in my entire life.
That's why Joe is confusing, because he has more natural talent than any of us in the band, without a single doubt. Like the way he plays guitar is just unbelievable, and the album is worth buying for some of his solos. It's worth buying for more than that, obviously, but some of his solos are unmissable.
I cried. I literally cried when I heard this.
Burst into tears.
I'm very emotional as it is, but I literally cried when I heard the solo for Poison Me. I was like halfway through my dissertation, so that might have had a influence on it.
This wasn't like an important bit of the song. It was just like a segue into a next bit. But for whatever reason, it just didn't compute with his brain at the time. And it was agonising. I don't even know what the question was that we ended up, to be honest, but
There's your answer.
I'm sure it was entertaining. Also, can we have an edit point here so I can go for a wee?
Oh, can I get a drink as well? I'm so thirsty.
Excellent.
I'm going to tell my housemates that they can watch start Taskmaster without this. So.
Okay, good stuff.
Pause ended, break time over.
Welcome
back to this special. The next question I want to ask you about the album was, there is a bonus track on it called Nomad 2, I believe, and obviously there is the song Nomad, which is actually my favourite song that I like by yours. Is there a link between the two of them?
Yes.
They're basically the same song.
Are there?
But the thing is, but not. Go on, you go.
So, imagine a man, a human man, clean shaven, average height. What's that? 5'8".
Oh no.
5'7".
Higher. 5'10".
Average height?
Surely.
5'10".
Yeah.
All right, 5'8". He's 5'8". Regular clothes, grey, and then he has a brother, older brother, right? 8 feet tall, beard like this, full of bees, furious all the time. That's the difference between Nomad and Nomad 2. Nomad 2 is tuned a lot lower, it's a lot slower. It actually adds weight to you when you listen to it. That's how heavy it is. It'll make your head like that.
People have died from listening to Nomad 2.
Yeah, we had to lighten it because it wasn't safe really.
How many people died?
10. Yeah, we got quite a lot of trouble for that.
It was all in the good word of memes though, because although I hate saying that, but the reason.
Well, don't say it then.
The reason why Nomad 2 exists is because really a lot of our friends and fellow bands who liked our music were just like, when's Nomad 2 coming out? Just as a joke. Because they love Nomad so much that it became, for some reason, people wanted a sequel. So,
Yeah.
to put it clearly, we literally just made a version of Nomad, which was 4 semitones lower and was like basically a slower doom metal version of it. And
It's like it's
also
meaner and heavier in every way.
and it's 2 minutes longer.
Yeah.
Makes you go like,
Yeah.
Ugh!
Yeah. Like, don't. If you're like having an artistic nude painted of you, don't listen to it because it will make you change your facial expression. You're not allowed to do that.
You'll shit yourself.
You will.
You'll shit yourself.
My
So
great-
to completion.
My greatest contribution to this band is probably Nomad, and it's just become the meme.
You wrote like all of it basically.
Joe wrote Nomad.
I even
In
wrote
first
some
year.
lyrics.
Yeah, he wrote the first verse of lyrics.
Yeah.
Well, there we are. Obviously, I know who the fucking Noel Gallagher is of the band.
It's yeah. I hate the
Also-
Gallaghers. They are scum.
Yeah, but it's good. It's a good laugh. Music's shit, but it's
good
if you
laugh.
want- it's a good laugh.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Also, Gully, I like the fact the most enthusiasm you've had so far of this Cheesy Bean special is you saying it, and it's 2 minutes longer. I like
Yeah.
the enthusiasm. I like the fact that you're fully with the band that you're in.
I love really long songs.
Why?
I don't know, wasting more of my time. I don't know.
What's your favourite song?
What's my favourite long song?
Yeah, like any song longer than like what, 5 minutes? That's quite long.
Yeah.
There's a song I really like by The Flaming Lips, which is called Seven Skies H3, and it's 24 hours long.
That's
That's
too
stupid.
That's too long.
Yeah,
That's not a long song. It's a too long.
It's the
song.
longest. It's the longest file I have on my computer. It's literally 24 hours long.
What?
No.
That's just stupid then.
Well,
Yeah,
mine's.
Have you actually ever listened to the song though? Like all
Yes.
the way through?
I have.
You're just broken.
So did you sit here like this
No.
for 24 hours without any break?
It was whilst I was in
No,
meditation. I lost my mind.
Oh, they're the band.
Yeah.
What are we there for?
They
I
did the
know.
band who did that "Smoke on the Water" cover.
Did they?
Yeah, that sounded like
Bees.
oh, it was just. Do you know what? Terrible. Because there was that album Re-Machined, wasn't there, where you had like
Green Machine.
Chad Smith and what's his name from Chicken Foot. They did a cover of Highway Star. Metallica did When a Blind Man Cries, and I love Metallica. I do. I love Metallica, but nothing about When a Blind Man Cries. I think yeah, it would be better if a man went yeah halfway through it. Do you know what I mean? A sad song about Ray Charles.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need that halfway through.
Do you like the Metallica album which they did with Lou Reed?
It's honestly, it's so bad. It's so bad. Like I had no idea, and I'd never heard it, and it wasn't even on their Spotify playlist due to a legal dispute. But it now is on their Spotify, and it's unbelievable. Like they were all sober because they've all been to rehab. Why? Why have they written that and made it and allowed it to be played to anyone, let alone put on Spotify?
I've got an opinion about that album.
Don't say that it's better than people think,
Not long
just
enough.
because you'll be wrong.
Well, Frederick.
No, no,
I think it,
no.
I think it's
No.
bad. I think it's bad. But there's some riffs in there which are real good.
Yeah, but that just makes you think like, yeah, but I wish I was listening to Metallica rather than Lou Reed going.
Yeah, I've got an
Over
instrumental
it.
version of the album.
I think Lou Reed is absolute garbage. I think he's
Yeah,
rubbish.
yeah. Like you can't deny that a couple of also sorry about this because this is essentially nothing for your podcast, but like a couple of his songs are really good, but only the bits where he's not singing, you know,
No,
because he
I know
can't
what you mean.
really sing in tune, can he?
So yeah, sometimes when I listen to Lou Reed, it's like he's trying to poison me or something.
Actually, the song he did with Gorillaz, I like that one. Some Kind of Nature.
I haven't
that's
heard that.
The song,
But that's
the song he did with
probably
Gorillaz
because
is
of Damon
really
Albarn,
good.
not because of Lou Reed.
Yeah, he will have produced the fucking shit out of Lou Reed.
Because he did on that album there was Lou Reed and there was the one he did with Marky Smith.
That's so good.
And they were both the songs that he did with them were like probably as good, if not better, than anything they've done in their own bands.
Yeah.
and their
Yes.
own, careers. But yeah. Anyway, in terms of going off topic, I don't fucking care. Do what you want. Obviously, don't talk about cock and ball torture too much.
Yeah.
Because my mum and dad do watch it, and I don't want them getting any sort of weird ideas about.
Do they know? Have they heard that reference before?
They have now.
They have. Yeah. Well, sorry,
Sorry,
mum.
mum and dad. Yeah.
Yeah. Dad'll know all about it.
Probably does. Deary fucking me.
Speaking of bad Metallica, I've got a hot take.
Okay. Go
I
on.
don't think Saint Anger's that bad.
It's not that bad.
I think
It
the
really,
cast is pretty cool.
like, it's been produced badly, so it sounds bad. But
I
the
think
songs
that's
are
good.
like Frantic is actually pretty good.
The riffs are good in that album, I think.
Yeah, I think the riffs are good, but the
obviously the solos are a big deal, like with Metallica, obviously, and are
Yeah.
all very good. But I think with that album, it's all really like riffy and are really like big, chunky riffs, which they do have anyway. But that album's just all about fat riffs.
they were in a really good sweet spot. I think. I don't think Load and Reload get enough love because those albums were fucking sick.
100%. Like literally.
Fuel is a great song. Prince Charming is a great song. There are like Fixer was really good. Devil's Dance is fucking great.
Even like the ones which aren't riffy, like Bleeding Me and Outlaw Torn are both.
Outlaw Torn is so good.
They're both incredible, like epic length songs. Like, they're both like 10 minutes
Yeah.
long, and like
I'm
it
going
just...
on about length.
I love length.
Perfect length. Yeah, those albums were great, but I think with Saint Anger, I think it's a perfect album actually, because if you watch the documentary made about it, they needed that album to be like, A, we're horrendous people, and B, we suck at the moment. Like,
Yeah.
you can see them learning that in that album. And if you've seen the film Some Kind of Monster, not a sponsor, they go from being really bad but writing really good songs to playing not that good songs but playing really well at the end of the film, and then that gives them. And then Death Magnetic, I think, is so great. It's such a great album, and I don't understand how people don't love that record, because I think it's Judas Kiss is such. That was played for the first time live ever in the city I'm in right now, because I live in Nottingham, and the first time they ever played that live was here.
That's where Metallica are from as well.
Famously, yeah, they were born just there. All of them at the same
Were they
time.
Born in your room that you're right now at the same time.
From me, I am their dad.
From you.
How much better would Metallica have been though if Dave Mustaine wasn't a massive heroin addict?
Yeah, they would have been better,
Such a waste.
because he was a songwriter as well. His riffs were great.
Although I'm a massive fan of Megadeth, so I'm actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in terms of, are you fans of like all the big four as well?
Yeah.
I don't love Anthrax, to be honest.
Yeah, 'cause
Actually,
I don't.
yeah, or Slayer, really. I mean,
Slayer are like one of the worst people I've ever known in the music scene.
they are like bad people. And I've seen Anthrax twice, and both times, I don't know, it didn't really grab me. But Metallica and Megadeth I adore. But like, interestingly enough, Tom Hooper's not a big metal man, you know, and yet
Oh,
he's
really?
in a metal-ish band.
Give and take.
What's the score with that? Why are you not a big metal man like the rest of your brethrens?
I'd probably say, I don't know, I was more into like punk and grunge rather than metal stuff, you know. I do like the odd metal song.
Yeah.
I like I mean, I'm not like a diehard Metallica fan, but every time I listen to one of their songs, I like it, unless it's from And Justice for All, which is the worst produced album.
Oh, but that album is so great, but the production is.
It does fuck all for me. I'm sorry.
It is bad. The production is bad.
And it's all because of the drummer. That's why.
Yeah, I know. Fucking drummers, am I right?
But I appreciate that they had like a tragedy like just before, so it must have been fucking horrible in the studio. Anyway, I do like Metallica, and I like, you know, I like metal. I like just having it on.
Yeah, it's not that you don't like metal. It's just that like when
wouldn't-
we met, you didn't really listen to that much
It's-
compared
it's
to
re-
me and Joe.
Yeah, it's rare for me to sit down and listen to metal. But yeah, I don't even know what fucking music I like. I like whatever.
You like Johnny Cash?
I fucking love Johnny Cash. Oh
Johnny
my
Cash is
God.
great.
He's like
Johnny-
top 3
Johnny Cash
favorite
is
musicians
great.
ever.
Yeah.
We have the same
It's like-
birthday.
See, that's
Yeah.
crazy, isn't it?
That's pretty sick. Do you like Neil Young? Because obviously Johnny Cash is a bit like proto sort of grunge. and stuff.
I like Neil Young. I like Bob Dylan.
I like Bob Dylan. He
I
can
get
die.
it. I get it. I know it's funny because I don't like Lou Reed, and I'd say they're in the same sort of.
Yeah. Famous people who can't sing.
I hate Morrissey. He can't sing. Can he?
There is a light and it never goes out.
The Shamble.
Hey!
No, he can sing. That's the difference.
Yeah, he can sing.
They're like the Smiths if they had a singer, which is why people like them.
And they were less famous. That's
And
what
if
they
they were
would
less
be. Yeah.
But I love I remember Freddie. When we went to see Dinosaur Pile Up in Huddersfield, it was you, Gully. What's your mate called again? I can't remember what his name was.
George Fullerton.
All 4 of us were sat in this pub just before Dinosaur Pilot came on, and all 3 of you were talking about like local metal and grunge bands, and I was just sat there like,
And we were deliberately excluding him.
I had no fucking clue what was going on. And Fred was like, "Oh, well, Tom only likes people who have died."
Oh, that's not
I'm
a
like,
good
it's
cut.
kind of half true. I do like it. I like older stuff, and I like.
Yeah,
like,
well, it's just that when I got into music and I started playing music, I got into lots of underground bands because it gave me quite a lot of hope that there are bands that are making music that I love and they're not massive. Whereas when I looked at Metallica when I was like 14, I was like, how do you get to that point? How is that possible? Whereas when you look at Dinosaur Pile Up as an example, their career trajectory, you can pinpoint it by venues that you can go to and you can play at. If you can get a gig there, you can play at them. Whereas Metallica and Slipknot and all that kind of stuff, they were way out of any universe that I'll ever really exist in.
By the way, like Dinosaur Pile Up, like the main reason why I'm actually in this band.
They are. That's true.
Because I wore a T-shirt which had Dinosaur Pile Up on it when I first met Fred, and then we went to see loads of gigs together of Dinosaur Pile Up. And then basically, we sound very similar to them because me and Fred absolutely love them. We write the songs sometimes. So
but they're also they love metal as well, and I think we're more metal influenced than they are. But I like the fact that they're not ashamed to hide the fact that they fucking love thrash metal, and I like the fact that it permeates into our music as well. I think we've got a nice mixture of the really heavy stuff that will melt your face, but also nice choruses that you'll be able to remember at the end of it as well. So you'll have no face, but you'll be able to sing along.
It's always a win-win in my eyes.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting point you take with that though, in terms of big bands like Metallica and Slipknot. Like, it's very, very hard to look at them and be like, I'm gonna be that like them one day, because it's like just the scale of it. But then you see like Dinosaur Pile Up, bands like Life, Who I Love, and other bands of that size. I think it's very good not only going to those gigs, but seeing them outside of the gigs, because it adds that level of like humanity and like down to earthness, if you could say that, because it's like that you see them as like they're human beings who can do this. It's sort of why like the grunge thing worked, was because, and that kind of alt rock thing was because it was normal people just doing it, dressing how they usually do, and doing these great things. So I think looking at the underground's sort of a cool thing and a big thing. Would you say that in terms of, for the rest of yous, looking at underground music is a sort of a big influence on you?
Well, those kind of gigs are the best gigs I've ever been to in my life, easily. Like, those sort of like grotty, someone's sort of basement sort of venues, like shithole places in the corner of a city. They're the best gigs I've ever been to, far better than any, O2 academies or arenas or whatever. I fucking hate arenas. I think they're shit. I
agree.
You can't have fun.
It's really
you're
hard.
there to see a spectacle, and you can enjoy the spectacle, but it's not like, so Tom and I saw Dinosaur Pile Up, and I've seen Metallica a few times at I've seen them at festivals and at their own gigs and stuff, and they're not comparable. because you can dance at a small gig. Whereas when you saw Gorillaz, I mean, you were seated obviously, but even if you're in the crowd, you can't have a good time. You can't get hammered and dance about, because if you need to go to the bog, it takes 40 minutes to get there and 40 minutes to get back. And then you can't find the person you were with. Whereas if you're at a small gig, you can just piss yourself.
And it costs 40 quid to get a beer, so.
Exactly.
Yeah. Whereas we were drinking like cans of Red Stripe for like $2.50 a bottle.
Oh, I
$2.50 a
miss
pop.
Red Stripe so much.
Red Stripe is such an underrated beer. Such an underrated beer.
Jamaica. Thank God for Jamaica.
Who would have thought that Jamaican lager is the best lager? But it really is.
Irish and Jamaican.
Yeah.
That's my favourite beer.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of Hop House then?
Oh,
Yeah,
Hop
Hop House.
Oh,
My
so
God.
good.
I
So
think
good.
Hop House has taken at least 25 minutes off my life, because the amount of it that we used to drink at Bandsock events. Because we should probably, for first years watching this, we sort of ran Band Society in our third year, and we turned it around from essentially being a joke to being a serious society with goals and things to look forward to. But when we'd finished the events, or when they were going well, or once we finished setting up, or as soon as possible, we used to drink quite a lot.
First thing in the
Hop House. Yeah, 9 hours before the event, we used to drink Hop House, and that was sort of our routine, and it was cheap and delicious.
Oh, it's so light as well.
It is, and it
flows like water.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it's
ooh.
lovely. See, it's getting him going. It's
Ah,
getting,
yeah.
yeah, I need it. And you get a nice creamy head on top, and oh yes.
Good lagers. That was a fitting segment. It was nice to talk about Nomad and Nomad 2 there to lead to orgasmic responses about Hop House.
Yeah,
This is-
very similar responses.
This is going
Sponsored.
to be a treat to edit. So, moving on from Hop House discussion and Nomad 2 to the promotion you've had for this album. And I have a question dedicated to Tom Hooper. How sad were you to miss out on Sledging in February 2018?
It was one of the lowest points of my entire life. As I imagine everyone would have seen, there was a You're okay, Fred?
Sorry, it's just sad, isn't it?
I know there was a moment in our prime where I missed out on beautiful sledging. I don't even know how it fucking started. Where did you even get the blow-up bed from?
I had it.
Gully had it in his room.
I remember just watching it on my on Snapchat or Instagram, and I was just like, "Will someone please fucking poison me?" Because I was stuck in the library. It was like a beautiful snowy afternoon, and it was one of the lowest points of my life. Probably.
It's one of those things where let's not beat about the bush. You didn't do that much work during your degree, and it was one of those moments. One of those 3 moments where you had to actually do some work.
Yeah.
Gully was a first year, so barely did anything. And we were both in second year, I think. Would we have been in second year?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have been. And I'd done everything. So we went and sledged and then went to the pub afterwards. I don't know why we didn't buy a sledge, but as soon as Gully, it's one of those things where when you're at uni, your mind works differently. And Gully said, I've got an air mattress. And what I heard was, I own a sledge. And we just went, and it was excellent fun. And I messaged Joe because I knew he wouldn't do his work anyway. And we went and did it. And it was excellent fun.
And it also became a music video.
And it was in the Heat music video.
Coldest day of the year.
It was absolutely.
That's ironic.
Is that your input? The coolest day of the year?
Yes.
It was absolutely freezing.
Did you, Tom? Did you join them in the pub afterwards?
No.
Probably not. I think there was like a due date that night or the next morning. Or something.
You were there for the foreseeable.
So I was in the library, stuck, miserable, wishing for death, while
Theatre.
these 3 were gallivanting in the snow and
Truly living it up.
yeah.
How sad. I didn't realise this was going to be so sad.
Yeah. Well,
Moving on to the next question in this sad tone. Another promotion for the album was you talked about 2 guests who featured on it. I'm glad there wasn't as many guests featured on this as Mr. Gulliver's album, because there was about 1 million.
Yeah.
And this is just keeping it confined to 2. Sorry, Gully.
No, I get it. The thing is, like, I get very lonely very quickly, so I needed that for a solo album, which Freddie and like also appears on. He's obviously the other thing, but yeah, this album only has 2 guests. There's a couple of appearances from other people because we have some voice recordings which are hidden throughout, which feature some of our friends, especially like at live gigs and stuff. We have some hidden like voice clips, like very subtle in the background. But Chris and Meg respectively play cello and piano on the song Snake Charmer and Full Circle respectively. So yeah, cello Chris and Meg piano. Yeah, now someone else take over.
Well, Meg was my friend from home and from work, and we became close friends because we liked a lot of metal music. And she said that she did some music and she played piano and all that kind of stuff. And we used to talk about writing songs quite a lot. And I sent her song was called 11/8 at the time, and I sent it to her and said, if you can come up with anything, that'd be great, and let me know. And she sent me this piano part, and it was beautiful. It just sounded lovely, and it fitted really nicely with the when people hear it, the song goes up and down in sort of texture quite a lot, so it fitted really, really well. And she hasn't done a huge amount of music, really. I think she's been in bands before, but she hasn't gigged that much. But she killed the recording session with a stinking hangover as well. She nailed it straight away. And it's great. She's a really great musician. She wrote a really glorious part, and she's got a lot of skill. And Chris, for the cello part, that was tricky because, we didn't really know how to write a cello part. I've never worked on anything that's had any kind of instrumentation in it like that on it. And he killed it. It really didn't take him long to get to grips with what we were asking him to do. And he did a really great job. So I think that's one of the key things with uni. You've got so many people available, so many skilled people around. You need to try and make the most of it, and we drew on as many connections as we could do, really.
Yeah, I think hats off to Meg though, because like we literally recorded that day after our like biggest final gig we had.
Yeah, and she was ratted at the gig. And then the next day, trying to put together a decent recording session was intriguing. But she killed it. The session itself took like 20 minutes. It felt like 9 days, but it literally took like half an hour, and she nailed it straight away.
It's the thing with it is like, you have the 2 guests on, and obviously I was joking, Gully, about the guests on your album. Everyone was like, don't worry, you don't have to cry or anything or get emotional, because the whole thing about guests, it's nice having guests on because they add that kind of different little thing. And as you said, you had them at kind of your disposal at university, which is like, if they're there, then you should kind of use them because it's the perfect opportunity to. And on Snake Charmer and Full Circle, it's very nice. They're very nice additions. They don't feel forced. It feels like it fits. But in regards to them, and obviously that album being particularly like heavy grunge / hard rock / metal, did you choose to have them on the album to add this kind of lighter sort of instrumentation, or was it something which was kind of planned where you thought like, I'm gonna fucking have them on because I know they're good? Or
well, I think because the way that we've kind of arranged the songs, like I like majority of the album time spent making it before we like recorded it, like was just probably mostly us guys spending lots of time arranging. Like arranging the tracks is like the really important bit, because especially when I get like kind of vibe for a song, even like as a producer or as a songwriter, like I can easily kind of like hear what kind of vibe you're going for. And Snake Charmer from the beginning was always going to be this epic kind of like, here we are, like check us out, like it's mad. Like there was so many bits involved in that song, which I wanted in there. And it was always gonna be like an epic one with a guitar solo at the end, and I wanted there to be like a really like good cello bit in there, or some kind of string bit to make it seem more real. I think throughout most of the songs there's like strings in the background, just kind of like layers. But even like with Full Circle, there's this really nice bridge bit, which was always very chill guitar bit, and it kind of complements the verses, which are also very like chill. And we were thinking, how can we make it more kind of nice with that kind of vibe? And
because you don't want it to be sparse or you know, we wrote some nice vocal melodies for that song, but you always want to try and have as much going on at one time without it seeming too much. That's sort of the challenge of writing songs. And I think whenever we wrote songs, Gully and I would often do a lot of the writing together, but all four of us would talk about the songs together, and we would spend quite a lot of time discussing them and seeing what you could do with them. And sometimes things would work and sometimes they wouldn't work. But for those songs, we really felt that it wasn't a case if we want to try and lighten things up, because we're not really bothered if people think it's too heavy or not. If you think it's too heavy, then you can fuck off. But it sounded really lovely with some strings in it. And it added so nicely to the to the style of the song that it just made sense.
It's the thing. It's like I almost feel like it makes the song heavier. It's like a really kind of big, like, dramatic build-up, if you know what I mean. Like, you know,
As to the drama,
yeah, like some of the biggest, like, heaviest thrash songs ever. You've got like a lot of classical music at the beginning,
or like Symphony of Destruction.
Yeah, or like Battery, Metallica,
Yeah.
or anything really off like Injustice for All. You've got like loads of like classical playing and stuff like that sounds really kind of like evil in a sense, and like quite like foreboding. And
it's like trying to find like what makes something heavy. Like, it's not just like how like loud and like grungy you can make it. Like, it has to hit there like emotionally as well. And songs like that do it like ridiculously well, and that's what we really tried to aim for with especially those songs. But even like the final song, Poison Me, is definitely the heaviest emotionally, and it made our boy over here cry. It could have made me cry, but I spent too much time working on it. It kind of like sucked all the soul out of me.
But like, I have no feelings left at all.
Nope, none. But my God, yeah. Heaviness requires an emotion and not just thickness.
It's a lot more than just like loud guitars and all that, like, and distortion. Like 1111 by Dinosaur Park is one of the heaviest songs in existence, and it's not a metal song, but it will destroy your eardrums because of the way it's designed and the way it's written. It's so simple, but it's pure filth all the way through.
Yeah, no, it's like people have these ideas of bands, as we were saying before, and they have these ideas of how it's going to be, and then people, I would say, tend to not necessarily realise that heaviness doesn't just mean putting on your fucking distortion and fuzz pedal, playing in like drop C or whatever.
Yeah.
It's more about like how you structure a song and how you do it. But now we'll move on. We've done all the nitty gritty, if you could call it that. We'll move on to the quick fire round. And obviously, everyone has seen this a few times. I feel like I actually have some fans, if you could say that. And because Tom Gulliver's been on this about 14 million times already, I won't ask him the first and last question. So I'll start with you, Freddie, and I'll ask the others. What is your favourite biscuit?
Oh, the Lotus Biscuit.
A Lotus Biscuit? The ones you get with like tea or coffee?
Yeah, unbelievable.
Why a Lotus Biscuit?
It's just so damn delicious, and it works with any hot drink or milk or on its own. Just glory. And like, they're one of those things where how long am I supposed to talk for, by the way? Is this too long?
No,
okay, you get it with like a coffee and you'd be like, that's delicious, but it's over. But they sell them in supermarkets.
It's over.
It's over. I've been listening to a lot of Alan Partridge recently, but they sell them in supermarkets. They're great. They're delicious. I love them.
Do you like the spread that you can get?
Do you know what? I'm not a huge fan of like sweet food in general. Lotus biscuits are about as sweet as I go. Like, I like the dark chocolate that's like 90% cacao that's not sweet at all. So the spread is a bit too sweet for me, and like peanut butter's too sweet and all that kind of stuff. So, but the Lotus biscuits are king biscuit in my opinion.
Do you think it's also down to size and?
Yeah, easy to eat. Pop it in one go. You haven't got to nibble or anything like that.
Not about the size.
It's all about the size, but as long as it's not too big, glorious.
Right, moving on to Mr. Tom Hooper, what is your favourite biscuit?
Alright, I'm looking it up now. So
Okay.
M&S, right, I don't know what they're called. It's those biscuits that are like little tubes. Tiny little tubes.
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
wafer.
Yes.
I don't know what they're called, but
No, I don't. Delicious.
Straws.
no, they're like straws.
Oi.
That's what they make me do. They're so,
You put one in.
they're so nice. They're fucking unbelievable. I'll have a Google, but
Alright.
you should know wafer like tubes from
Is it like a cinnamon snap?
No! Hang on.
What's a cinnamon snap?
What the fuck is this?
It's what he's describing.
I'll give you a cinnamon snap in a minute.
Oh.
Fuck off.
Oh, fuck off yourself.
You're sacked.
Hang on. Hang on.
It's great quick fire on this.
This is
Very
This
quick.
is true.
Snappy.
This is short, digestible content. This is great.
Move
honestly.
on to Joe.
Alright. Mr. Joseph Buttery,
Yeah.
favourite biscuit, please.
So there's like little like amaretto things you get next to a coffee at like an Italian like coffee shop, I guess. That's
Like-
probably my favourite. I don't know what they're called. They're like little Italian crispy things that you dip in like the foam of a cappuccino and then you eat, and it's so good. They're a bit boozy
Amazing.
as well, actually, I think.
Boozy biscuits.
Failing that, I'd have to say, you know what, just a rich tea.
Oh,
They just
so
have-
good.
they just
Underrated.
have
Underrated.
tea dipped in,
Rich tea and St. Anger have a lot in common.
then just like it's hard to beat dipped in a proper builder's tea.
Yeah.
Shortbread as well. Fuck.
It's like, nah,
Shortbread's good.
shortbread.
Yeah, but rich teas are the sort of biscuit that you never get because of the kind of
Who buys them?
the identity.
No,
who
nobody
them.
buys them, do they really?
But when
When
you
you-
get them,
Yeah,
they're absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
it's hit some kind of spot that nothing else does.
What are have we found out about the Marks and Spencer's wafer biscuits? Or
No.
no.
I think they're just called like curls, wafer curls.
Oh, are they like pizzelles? Have you seen pizzelles?
No, they're
Like
not that
those
posh.
wafer ones.
It's not a gazelle.
It's not a gazelle, not a gazebo.
If you Google pizzelle and then
Okay, let's be quick fire. What's next?
Alright, this one applies to everyone because it's about the album. So, Freddie, what's your favourite song on the album and why?
Honey and Gold because I wrote it.
Right, Gully,
No,
what's your favourite
Honey
song?
and Gold because it's got the best vocal melody.
Is that... Are you done?
Yeah.
Gully, what's your favourite song on the album? Go.
Patterns because it's the best produced.
Right. Hooper.
Nomad 2 because it sounds like a furious army of Vikings coming to raid your ears.
Right. Mr. Joseph Buttery.
Snake Charmer because solo is just ruthless, mate. I
I
did.
like that we all had different answers. That's nice.
Yeah, I'm glad. Would have been really bad if we'd all said the same song. I would have just left. Just headed for the door.
Alright. Freddie, Buzz Lightyear or Woody?
Woody, because he's not the best, but he is the leader of the gang. You know?
Right. Gully, Buzz Lightyear or Woody?
Buzz, because he's cool as fuck.
Right, I'm gonna swap questions. Hooper, Santa Claus or Karl Marx?
I love them both so much. Karl Marx because he's fucking real. Do you know what I mean?
Mr. Buttery, Santa Claus or Karl Marx?
Who has the better beard game? I'm gonna go Santa Claus.
Tory.
Yeah, such a capitalist. Fuck's sake.
Santa Claus is definitely a Tory. Capitalist
Yeah.
bastard.
Consume!
Take my things.
It's like, I don't know. Yeah, they probably are pretty overworked and underpaid. So,
They don't get the living wage, do they?
No.
The last question I'm going to ask you individually, and it's always a particularly, arguably the hardest question I ask anyone. So I'll start with Freddie. How would you describe your band in one word?
Indescribable.
Oh.
No.
You cunt.
Personal.
Personal. Why personal?
Because it means a lot to me. It's been I have very strong relationships with everybody involved, and every song that we write is very personal to me. And it was only ever something that I love doing with my closest friends. So to see other people enjoying it is a very wonderful thing. So it's very personal to me.
That's a very lovely explanation. Gully, describe your band in one word.
I'm gonna use the word harmonic because it doesn't just describe it being a musical project, but it describes many voices coming together, many minds coming together, and appreciating not just one band, but like appreciating some kind of joint connection between people, and appreciating that you have a family of friends and fans of your friends to kind of just like enjoy something and just be a social group and just enjoy people's company.
Again, another good word and explanation.
I
Mister,
don't know.
I was going to say favourite song on the album. Fucking hell, I'm too tired of this shit.
Long day.
Describe your band, one word.
Enormous. Absolutely enormous in both sonically and just the impact it had on my time at university. It was going to practice was the best part of every week. Had an enormous impact. I met 3 of the closest friends I'll ever have, but also the amount of fucking noise that we made was just unbelievable. It was so loud and it was incredible. So enormous.
That's a good word. I actually counted there, because when you said 3 friends, I thought you'd left someone out, and then I realised.
And 4, sorry, I meant you as well.
Yeah.
You're my closest friend.
And then, last but not least, Mr. Buttery, describe your band in uno word, please.
Bad.
Bad.
Do you know what? Your internet dropped out, and for me, you just went ad like that.
Never commit too hard for comedic timing via Zoom. I said point because I don't know. I was going to say earlier when you called it our album, our debut album. That sounds so strange because it's to me like almost like it's like I don't know, like the last thing we're doing. If you know what I mean. So it's like unforgettable, like best memories and all that sort of stuff. And we'll always have like the stuff that we created to look back on. But also like there's a fact that it's never 100% going to be exactly the same as it was in the peak, when we were all hanging out and that sort of stuff, which is really sad and poignant. So I'm going to say poignant.
But it will never be over.
Yeah, and you never know.
Never be.
But even if it won't be the same, that album will be the sort of the apex of what we'd created.
Yeah.
And it'll be like a sort of audio picture book of what we did and what we were like. It's a nice one.
No, I think that's a very nice way to end things. So before I close out this episode, you can do all the plugs you want and all that stuff because you're all releasing an album. So fire away.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for kind of like being like the snake charmer, bringing all us together, and very much thanks for bringing us together to kind of chat about our music and like I don't know. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for having us on. It's we've not really done this much before, but we've listened to this podcast before and it's really great. So thanks for having us on. People who are interested, you can check Kraken out on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and we have our album out on October 30th. It'll be out on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, anywhere you look, you'll be able to find it. But if you find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, there'll be regular updates. You can buy physical CDs, you can buy lyric sheets signed by us, and you can buy our own specially designed t-shirts as well. Limited stock, so buy them while you can. We've already sold out of a few of them, so you have to check what's still left. But if you fancy it, check it out.
A wonderful. That was a lot of promotion there.
Also, Alex Jones on Infowars for telling the damn truth.
The chemicals in the water make the friggin' frogs gay.
That's what I'd like to promote.
Infowars.
I mean, all I'm gonna say is that I was expecting this to be a bit of carnage. It was a bit more than fucking carnage, but I've had a fucking good time. It has been a laugh. I've missed half an hour of Taskmaster, but it has been absolutely worth it. Thank you for doing this, even though I didn't organise it. I've had a great time, as always, and it's been lovely to see you. I can't wait for you to support my band in York. So, win-win for everyone. Right. Now, as we always do at Cheesy Beans, everyone wave now. Bye. Bye, all the viewers. That's
Bye.
Bye.
Fuck off.
No way.